I don't know, moderator.
You can stay there. Yeah, okay, to be in the middle.
Yes,
You need to be in the middle. David needs to be in the middle.
I like you because
Yeah, Berlin. Yeah. I am the master. I put this.
So, you first. Me second, or do you want to go second? You finish. The moderators.
Comment. Okay. Stop. ¿Te basta, no? Kote ka besha? Amen ka besha? Okej. Pasha ka te mashpa?
Hello? 1, 2. Mic check. Hello everyone. My name is Simonida Selimovic and I will do the moderation for today. Welcome to the third day of the first World Roma Congress here in Berlin. I would like to introduce you Urma Meneksha, Johnny Sichelschmidt. He is still here, but he will come. Okay, then maybe we will change. And Katarina Dom. Katarina Dom will present us now the Kosovo resolution. So please, we will start with you, and after that we will hear the recommendations from the Roma self-organizations. Roma activists and representatives from Roma organizations from 30 countries have met for the last 3 days to discuss the current situation of Roma in the world and to develop recommendations and demands to policymakers. They will present the results at the press conference, but we will start now with Katarina Dum. Thank you.
Resolution calling for recognition of the ethnic cleansing and recognition of International Day of Remembrance, whereas that the Roma have been documented as settled in Balkans since the 14th century during the Ottoman Empire, which lasted until 1912. The Roma were an important cultural and economic factor in Kosovo society. Whereas that during the Balkan Wars of 1912 till 1913, the Roma were increasingly caught between the Serbian and Albanian fronts, each of which demanded loyalty, and the goal of Albanian nationalists was to create an ethnically pure, greater Albanian empire. There are indications that the Roma were systematically persecuted in Kosovo during that time. Whereas since the early 1980s, Kosovo Albanian nationalists have carried out actions for the ethnic cleansing of all non-Albanian minority from Kosovo. Whereas the Tirana Academy of Science stated in May 1999, Albanians need their ethnically pure state. Whereas that parallel to the NATO bombing and invasion in 1999 under the Kumanovo Agreement and UN Resolution 1240, Kosovo was under the NATO protectorate. Albanian extremists destroyed 200 Roma settlements and expelled the Roma. Especially since June 13, 1999, the Roma were persecuted to an extent not seen since the occupation of the Balkans by the German Wehrmacht. Whereas by March 2000, approximately 15,000 till 23,000 Roma homes have been destroyed after the expulsion of 150,000 Roma from Kosovo. The abandoned houses and properties were occupied by Albanians. Whereas pogrom by Albanian nationalists led to further waves of refugees. In the spring of 2004, racist attacks against Roma occurred that again led to mass expulsions and emigration. Whereas that crimes against Roma by Albanian extremists since 1998 and afterwards have never been the subject of political will to initiate proceeding against these crimes. Whereas to this day, Roma in Kosovo are not safe, as shown by the murder of Gani Rama who was murdered on 20th of July 2019 by a Kosovo Albanian nationalist after being deported from Germany. Therefore, we demand that the World Roma Congress acknowledges that Germany and other NATO countries that were involved contribute to and facilitated the ethnic cleansing of Roma in front of their eyes. Resolved and be prosecute the crimes committed against Roma. Resolved that 13th of June be recognized as an International Day of Remembrance for the expelled Roma from Kosovo. Resolved that the World Roma Congress calls on other states and international organizations to join in this action by passing the same or similar resolutions, and be it further resolved that suitable copies of the resolution be transmitted to the United Nations, NATO alliance, governments of all NATO countries, and the Kosovo government.
Thank you very much, Katarina. Urma, can I ask you also to read yours, please, your resolution? Thank you.
Good day, everyone, and welcome. Roma, this is the World Roma Congress Declaration. We, the persons that took part in this Congress, we decided to work urgently and about the arising situation and the situations that the Roma faced throughout the world, with recognizing what happened during the wars and with the worries that all of the bigger nations that are we the Roma live, we ask for solidarity and giving at the very end and putting an end to the situation with raising a much more better future for our Roma nation. With this, we have declared these points: inclusion and integration, gathering teams, working with youth, with institutions and organizations for the inclusion of the Roma. Regarding the inclusion of the Roma in all aspects, healthcare, economic and political participation, to be given social help, and to combat against discrimination and racism towards the Roma. Creation of teams for overseeing and monitoring and making positive proposals so that they can be put into court, raising awareness. Creation of networks with media, Roma media, who will gather media from the world and promote Romani media in the context of the richness that the Roma community has, raising awareness about the Roma, combating stereotypes towards the Roma and cultural and the values of our culture that they don't know. Because of this, we can state a real presentation of the Roma and promotion of their work among people in the place of the political asking for help to make in the UN and other countries, like political participation, promotion of the Roma as active participants in the political scanning, to give support in the inclusion of workforce, working place sector. Education of the Roma is part of the rights for good inclusion for all the person, and much more better friendships, creation of much better friendship, giving support and solidarity, secure access, legal access for protection and representation of Roma, to undertake measures for raising the awareness for solidarity among the Roma and decreasing the to take measures who will combat for the genocide. We have one place in our life for the protection of the rights and promotion of well-being and security of the Roma throughout the world, taking actions and raising the awareness and speaking about the promotion of policies for the future where the Roma and the Roma community will be respected and will be inputted among all participants of our multicultural friendship. Thank you very much. Urma, thank you very much. Johnny Sicherschmidt.
Deinen Beitrag.
Wish
Wish you all good health. I want to wish you all good health that you are present here at this World Roma Congress.
Diesen Beschlüssen, dass wir tatsächlich sichtbar sein werden mit unseren Problemen, dass die Mehrheit der Gesellschaft erstmal versteht, dass die Roma nicht die Probleme sind, sondern dass die Roma
Not the Roma are the problems, but the Roma have problems which need to be solved. A declaration for the Roma Congress. We, the participants of the Roma Congress, have joined here to deal with the pressing issues which the Roma community worldwide has to deal with. We recognize the continuing struggles and we recognize the problems of rising racism and against our people which affect minorities, including our minority. We recognize the need to stand together in solidarity to deal with these challenges and create a better future for the Roma people. We hereby declare the following demands regarding integration and inclusion. We need to establish teams to educate the people who work in state institutions and international organizations. We advocate the full integration of Roma in all social, economic and political areas. We stand ready to fight against anti-Gypsyism. And we want to monitor the implementation of positive measures to sensitize and educate the majority community. We will found a network of media which will work together with Roma media. We will increase the sensibility for the media of the majority community to overcome stereotypes and discriminating reporting in the media. We support Roma media and we promote diversity in media. And they should report about the challenges faced by Roma and increase understanding for them. Our aim is a fair representation of Roma and the promotion of good cooperation with media. In the area of political change, we promote integration of Roma in political institutions in the European Union and the United Nations. We want Roma as active participants in the political life of Europe. They should work for participation in education, employment, and housing. Education is one of the most important keys to allow people to have equal citizenship in societies. We promote political participation in institutions to ensure that Roma are sufficiently involved in political decision-making processes. We will promote personalities who can represent us in parliaments and political institutions. We advocate the creation of a European political party. We strive to ensure access to legal advice specialized on the protection of the rights of Roma and protection against racism. We will take steps to increase the consciousness for the importance of solidarity. We will take appropriate measures for recognition of the genocide against the Roma and to promote reconciliation. We will promote the solidarity with India and promote the improvement of our relations with India. We will promote equal rights for Roma across the world. Through efforts towards political participations, we can work towards a future that has Roma as an important part of a diverse world. We resolve to strive towards implementation of this resolution by joining our forces and working together for the promotion of the Roma community. We call on governments and international organizations and NGOs and civil society to join our efforts to create a world which has equal participation for Roma. This resolution will be published and passed on to relevant and affected governments and organizations, NGOs. Thank you very much.
Your resolutions. Thank you.
First of all, our workshop name was Emergency Workshop. Why emergency? Do you think that is an emergency right now with the Roma? I say yes. We see that was the Kosovo-Ukraine war. They learned something. Our people have the right for their lives to save their family. No. They show us that we don't have this right. In this workshop, we find out how to not blame ourselves, that we are not the issue. Yeah, the authorities issue. Every time when we go in different conferences, we find what we do a mistake or what we don't do good. No, we do all the things good, but they accept us. They accept our resolutions. They accept our recommendations. No. The Ukrainian refugees, they have education, they have policies, strategy. We're having organization. How is in Kosovo, Roma organization? In the end, they don't have the same right like the Ukrainians. They were treated in Moldova Republic, in Romania. They were treated in Czech Republic very bad. They wanted to send them back. This kind of discussion we wanted to have, to find the good things, actions to act, because we are tired of people, more the Gaji, to tell us what we need to do. No, we are not the issues, and I will let my colleagues to continue with the workshops and what we find out, and what immediately to take actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Orhan Tahir, would you do your recommendation with David Donaldson? Thank you.
Orhan will conclude. Firstly, can I say I agree with my brother on everything he raises, particularly the anti-Gypsyism. What we found very, very quickly in our workshop was that no matter where Roma people, travellers, my people, no matter where they come from, no matter where in the world they live, they experience anti-Gypsyism. This is something which needs to be focused on. It's one of the main things that we all, no matter skin colour, language, colour of your hair, colour of your eyes, it doesn't matter. Because to non-Roma, country folk, Gaji, we are gypsies. And this for us was something we had to reflect on very, very deeply. In reflecting on it, what we found was that the world movement around Roma issues and Roma rights had overlooked this factor for far too long. We fragment ourselves. One organisation works here, one works here, one works with Gens de Voyage, Manouche, Kaldrash. We need to come together. We need to have a movement that can work worldwide and bring our communities and our peoples together. There's a very, very, very famous expression, divide and conquer. And we believe that the Roma nation has been divided for far too long. We must come together at this stage. We must work together on new ideas. The old ideas don't work anymore. We don't need another Roma organisation. We don't need another project. We need a movement. This is something that our workshop looked at. This is something we've been left reflecting on. We need a new idea. We need to come with youth, with passion. We need to look at the skills that our peoples have and use these properly. No longer can we be allowed to be led by people that are not part of our community. These people should sit and they should listen. They cannot lead this movement. And that's why the movement has failed so many times. Brother Vicente shared that the movement is very, very old. But in many ways, we've went backwards. So this is where we got to, and my brother Orhan will continue.
Thank you very much, David Donaldson.
Hello, everybody. For me personally, this was maybe the most useful and meaningful Congress that I have attended, because in our workshop we had extremely interesting participants and discussions. People from United States, from United Kingdom, from Eastern Europe, from Spain, from different parts of Europe, and also from India, participated in our workshop during the conference. And it was dedicated to the emergency situation in which we, Roma, are at the moment. When you are in an emergency situation, you cannot follow the normal procedures. You cannot continue in the same way, because obviously you ended up into a dead end. And now the question, the big question, and this I think all of the participants agreed on, the big question is how we continue ahead, how we go ahead collectively. Because individually, each of us can follow his own personal path of development. But as far as we feel part of a community, of a nation, or however you want to call it, as long as we feel part of this Romani nation, we need to think together about our collective advancement and progress as people, despite of the fact that we are spread all over the world. And what are the signs of this emergency? Why we are talking about emergency situation? It is because we have a war in Europe, in Ukraine, which actually might become a regional war, might involve other countries, especially the Central European countries, the neighboring countries, which are with very, very high percentage of Roma population. And you know which are these countries, like Slovakia, Hungary, Moldova, Romania. And this could be a disaster for Roma if this scenario happens. And because we saw that Ukrainian Roma, we saw how Ukrainian Roma were treated, how Roma refugees from Ukraine were treated. We know that Roma refugees from the other European countries will not be treated better, but on contrary. And that's why we need to start thinking more seriously on the political developments in Europe, on the political situation in Europe, and not only in Europe, of course. And one of the main questions in front of us is actually, it was raised by many participants, do we need more autonomy or more dependency? What choice? What should be our choice? What I mean by autonomy and dependency, in Western Europe, our brothers and sisters from Western Europe who preserved for longer time their nomadic or traveler way of life, they are more self-sustained, not depending so much on the state, on the donors, while the Eastern European Roma, who come from post-communist countries, have a little bit different mentality. So there is difference between the Roma in the Western world, in UK, Spain, United States, and the Roma from the post-communist countries. And we have two different approaches, and this was clear also during the World Roma Congresses in the past. Whether Roma should become more integrated, which also means more assimilated into the hostile societies, in the local societies, dominant societies, or Roma should pursue their own way ahead and emancipate themselves. So emancipation or integration. If I can summarize it, autonomy, Roma autonomy, or Roma dependence. Roma emancipation or Roma integration. These are the big questions in front of us. And also, we are a very large community. We are millions of people around the world. How is possible that millions of people in 2023 say that they are vulnerable, that they are poor, that they cannot organize themselves, that they can solve their own problems? We are not 100,000 people. We are not 200,000 people. We are millions. We have thousands of lawyers, doctors, professors, teachers, all kinds of specialists, IT specialists. And it's time to turn to these people and to see how can their potential, their skills, their qualities. We have Roma businessmen, we have very rich people among ourselves, and these people should be involved. Not just NGO activists, because if we have to be honest, the NGO movement, the human rights movement, it fulfilled many of its objectives. That's true. Many cases were won in front of the courts, in courts. Many cases of human rights violations were exposed. Many things have been done in the field of education or healthcare, but in general, we see that anti-Gypsyism is rising and is becoming more dangerous and more dangerous for us, despite of the successes, declared successes. You know, some organizations, some international organizations, they say that they achieved many things about Roma, but in fact, intolerance towards Roma is growing everywhere, and you know this very well. The sociological surveys in the United Kingdom, in Italy, in Germany, in France. This is Western Europe. These are the democracies, not Eastern Europe, but the democratic countries, show that Roma people are the most intolerant people, the most hated people, more hated than the black people, than the Jews, than the Muslims, than the LGBT people. And we need to prioritize this. We need to speak about this. And we need to answer the question, why? Why we are more hated than the others? How we pose a threat to these societies? We don't make terrorist acts. We don't claim territory. We don't do anything harmful. We are not dangerous. We don't buy weapons. But at the same time, we are the most hated people in Western Europe and in Eastern Europe. How is this possible? And the other question, the other very important question is what shape this Roma movement, what shape it will have in the future? Can the NGOs, can the foundations be the instruments for advancement of the Roma movement? Or maybe political parties, or maybe Roma need European political party, or maybe more political parties, or maybe business, more businesses, more companies. What is necessary? And also, what will be the role of the state factors and non-state factors? Here India was mentioned. We have here people, representatives from India. What will be the role of these state factors of European Union, of European Commission, of Indian government, of the other participants, also non-state factors, international organizations? And also we need to see which are our, let's say, allies, possible allies or friends in this situation. We know we don't have many friends. And who are our enemies? It's easy to say who are the enemies. It's very difficult to say who are the friends. And despite of everything, there is one thing that was mentioned by different participants at the workshop. And it is that until Roma continue to repeat, we are very poor, we are very discriminated, continue to complain, they will be even more discriminated, they will be even more hated, they will be even more oppressed, because we put ourselves in the position of the oppressed, in the position of the victim. And it's very important for the future of Roma to overcome this victimization, this victim syndrome or victim mentality, because we are millions of people. Only in Europe we are 12 million. We are more than the population of many European countries. And at the same time we say we are powerless, we are weak, we are disorganized, we are poor. How is this possible? And we live in the richest continent on the world. Europe is the richest, most advanced continent in the world in terms of wealth, economics, finance, international trade, human rights, and so on. So this is a big contradiction which we have in Europe. So also the question of immigration of Roma. A lot of Eastern European Roma are already in Western Europe. They moved to Western Europe. Most of the participants here from Romania, former Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Slovakia, are actually immigrants in Western Europe. They don't live anymore in these countries. I'm myself from Bulgaria, but I live in Germany. My colleague Alexandra is from Romania, but she lives in United Kingdom. So there is a big displacement, and also the case of Yugoslav Roma, Kosovo Roma, big displacement, big demographic shift due to the intolerance, hatred, poor conditions, economic problems. More and more Roma are moving from east to the west. And if we think in a historical perspective, over the centuries, our movement has always been from east to the west. We have never moved from west to the east. Our movement was to the west. And our brothers and sisters, some of them who left Europe, they went to North America and South America. This was the course of development, the normal course of movement of Roma. And we have in Western Europe a lot of Roma who never emigrate anywhere. They stay there. Even the travelers, even the Irish, Scottish travelers, they travel only within the British Islands. They don't go anywhere else. Spanish Roma don't emigrate anywhere. French Roma don't emigrate anywhere. The only Roma who emigrate are Eastern European Roma. And this is very important. We need to start thinking in terms of politics, in terms of demography, in terms of geography. We don't think in terms of these things. Until now, we have been thinking only in terms of human rights, discrimination, healthcare, and such things. But look where we are now in 2023. We are in a dead end. We don't see exit. We are disintegrated, divided, disempowered. There were so many organizations and people coming to us and talking, we will help you, we will empower Roma. And after 30 years, we are more disempowered, more divided than we were 30 years ago. And we don't ask any responsibility from these people, but we allow them to continue to lecture us, to give lessons and to advise us, to give us advice. And, we don't need any more the advice of these people. These are failed organizations, failed policies, failed solutions that doesn't work for us. So, our workshop is raising the question how we continue, what we do in the emergency population. We run away, we stay, and yesterday was the day of Roma resistance. Staying means resisting. Resistance means you stay and you fight, and those Roma and Sinti who resisted at the Auschwitz concentration camp, they decided to fight because they know that death is coming for them. And we need to resist. We cannot give up. We need to resist. This is very important. The concept of resistance, not only on 16th of May, but every day. And not just to survive, but to prosper, to advance, to progress. We are extremely gifted people. This was repeated by many participants. We have so many advantages over the non-Roma people. It's time to understand, to realize this. We survived in Europe in conditions in which the other nations would not survive. They had their states, they had their churches, their religions, their holy books, their many things. And they were concentrated on certain territories. We were dispersed everywhere. But we did survive, and this is a miracle. This is a miracle. And that's why we need to have self-confidence. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to stop talking about ourselves and thinking about ourselves as of some kind of endangered species, extinct, endangered, like, we are not like Native Americans in the United States, because demographically our number is growing. We are in very different position. And something very important, we should stop thinking of ourselves as guests in Europe. We are not guests in Europe, dear people. We are more than 1,000 years on this continent. And I will tell you that Hungarians, if you look at the history, they come to Europe approximately the same time when we came. Nobody today tells Hungarians you need to go back to Asia. Nobody today tells Hungarians your ancestors were nomads, what are you doing here? Nobody. They are accepted as Europeans. So why is this difference in the attitude? We came at the same time, but we're treated differently. We are not guests in Europe, and we should not allow anybody to talk to us like this and to treat us like guests, like foreigners, like refugees. We are not refugees. And we should not allow the politicians, the far right, or anybody, doesn't matter, to talk to us in this way. And I want to wish all of you, really, and to tell you, we need to turn other page. We need to accept our failures. We need to understand that we are in a catastrophic situation. We are really in an emergency situation, and we should not repeat the mistakes of Yugoslav Roma, Ukrainian Roma. In 2023, we need to show that we are smarter, we are aware of the risks in front of us, because we need to think about the future of our children. Thank you very much.
Orhan Tahir, thank you. We are not guests anymore. The world is ours, Europe is ours. Thank you for this, Orhan Tahir. Thank you. I have another guest here for a silent minute for Kosovo. He will explain you for what, and after that we will continue with the Memoranda of Understanding Roma relations with India. Thank you. Just for a second.
I will be speaking in Romani language. I'm not part of the program, but I just wanted to say that I want to thank everybody who organized this Congress, with taking into consideration that we had a big moment, a big lecture, and gave us a task to think, to contemplate about our people. What happened, I will not say genocide, but I will say a Romocide. They murdered many Roma from ex-Yugoslavia. Like the latest, they have the murdered Roma in Kosovo. Your Roma have been killed in Kosovo. Your Roma, our Roma, are killed. And if we can have a minute of silence, everybody to get up on our feet about the murdered Roma in Kosovo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine, Urma, Johnny, Alexandra, Orhan, and David for your input and for letting us know what came out on the workshop. I would like to welcome our other guests from Global Indian Series, Rajan Nasran. Thank you. Ezat Behrani for World Roma Congress. Welcome them, thank you. From Center for Roma Studies in India, Mohammed Zamir Ambar. Welcome. And from Roma Center, Roma Anti-Discrimination Network, Kenan Emini for World Roma Congress. Thank you. This is the With Global Indian Series and Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relation, World Roma Congress and the Indian organization subscribe Memoranda of Understanding for today. I think, Kenan, you would start with that.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you here, and also the colleague from India, Anvir, from India diaspora in Europe. But I will give to Samar because the idea, and maybe you can present this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenan, and I
Toilet.
say thanks to Kenan and his team for making this wonderful, comprehensive, enlightening, illuminating, refreshing Congress. And for the last 3 days, we had very illuminating and refreshing discussions, deliberations, talk, speeches, presentations on a different aspects of Roma community living in a different part of the world, especially in Europe, from Slovakia, Republic of Slovakia, to Czech Republic, to Hungary, to Romania, Kosovo crisis, and the different aspects, the myriad aspects of Roma affairs and a Roma crisis was discussed in this Congress. And I'm very much thankful to Kenan and the World Roma Congress for the invitation to witness such a important and significant, as I can say, the indispensable, the contemplations and deliberations we had from 15th, 16th, and 17th today. Actually, I represent the Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations.
Sem reprezentantul Cotaro Cultura Cot Centro, Covaso Sinenkerdino,
and sponsored by the Indian Council for Cultural Relations as a, the part of Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. We had a round of discussions and a very deep discussions with the Grattan Puxon, and we came to the conclusion that this memorandum of understanding, this partnership is going to prove cornerstone and a stepping stone to deepen and consolidate the relations between Indians and Roma. Actually, this center, the purpose and objective of this memorandum of understanding is, most of the people asked me with the curiosity and with the due respect, I replied and answered to their questions that what India has done. And why I think we had discussions about the different layers of the discriminations, persecutions, and prejudices and stereotypes attached with the Roma community across the world, wherever they have been living and residing. As Orhan Tahir said, hey, we are not a guest, we are not a foreigner in European countries. We have a longer history than the Slavs and the other Hungarian group of people who have been residing and living in Europe. So the Roma, India is important not only for Roma, even the Roma is important for India. It is not like that you are of Indian origin, so we are extending help. You people are important and you people are indispensable for India in spreading and fostering the archaic and old civilizations, traditions, and culture of the world. You can be the ambassador. You can be the cultural ambassador. You can promote the voice of India, the ancient wisdom of India, the culture and traditions of India, because you are living in a place where there is no technology, even a 21st century. So you are more instantaneous, you are the more powerful tool to expand the India presence. Because India has a vision, India has, like the dream, and India is in position now to become the cultural superpower. India has a potential to, to resolve the cultural crisis across the world. So here the Roma can play the very pivotal role in spreading and the pervading the ancient wisdom which the whole world is looking to. Because everywhere you find the crisis, as our friend, our friend here talked about the crisis situation, the crisis situations and the very tumultuous and a turbulent situation of Roma community in Europe or in the world, because the war is at the door, War is a few kilometers away from Berlin, that's between Russia and Ukraine. So it is there quite obvious and the quite natural, the thinking what happens, because they have seen that they have been treated, the Roma from Ukraine, how they were treated, the maltreated, how they were discriminated, under the broad daylight. So there is a different policy by Germany itself, in Germany, because they have the different treatment, different policies for the Ukrainian refugee, and the Roma from Ukraine, the Romani refugee from Ukraine, they have the different treatment here in Germany, which claims to be the exponent and a proponent of fundamental rights and human rights. But you can find there is the blatant transgressions and violations of fundamental rights against the Roma community, the people here. We have seen everywhere the fundamental rights are trampled. So in this critical situations, India plays a very important role. India can stand as a protector for you people, because gone are the days when India were, Indian were treated like the snake charmers, like the elephant riders. So now we have been reigning supreme. We have been playing the very important role in each and every sector, whether it's the IT. We are ruling the Silicon Valley. You find the Nadal and, so we are ruling the Silicon Valley. There's a technology. We are there. We have a very great and a very strong presence in NASA. We are the great entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires, whether Sunil Mittal and Tata and all. So we are a powerhouse, culturally, financially, so that the India can play and assume very important role. And I think this MOU will, pave the way for deepening a relationship and expanding our network with expanding our understanding, the horizon of understanding, how we can, contribute to the resolution of some critical problems faced by the Roma community and the discriminations problems, all the other sort of social, economic, and political problems. One of our friends said that we have not been hearing anything from India. We have been only talking what the India role is. Some friend asked that, did you help any Roma family, any community? Actually, it is a very, it is trivia, Helping one family and two family and two members, it is not our vision. Our vision is to take the entire community along. So there is the development in India that the Roma issue has been discussed and raised in the Indian Parliament, in the House of People. So the question was there, how India can going to respond to the Roma issues and Roma problems. And this is the reason why our center is there. We are trying to expand we are trying to expand and we are trying to extend our help and aid in whatever forms could be. So the political, the political participations, you can find that the Roma are there is a very scant political participations of Roma community, even though they contribute the 10 to 12% to the total population of the country, like Hungary, like sorry, 2 minutes, all right.
Kenan?
Yes, I will like just to add, because we go just very deep, yes, after 700 years, maybe 1,000, then you come from some suggestion like this is for me, wow, like the Emperor of India won't help us, but this is not the reality. India never helped Roma after Tito. I think Indira Gandhi was the last one, and then she was assassinated, I think, yes. And then we didn't have any relation anymore with India. But what I try to explain here is that it's important India for us, like cultural, historical, so we can know something about history. So the main goal was also with you, Samar, and to have some agreement so we can maybe make some research. I think also my friend Esad Behrami, he's also one very creative person who studied a little bit history, and he makes some performance theater and stuff. And he's very visionary about India. So the goal is can we Roma, after 700 years, go to India to research a little bit about our roots, something. That was the idea. But from other hand, of course, we live in some difficult time. And of course, we like to have some supporters, like countries like India, but to tell you the truth, this never happened for years. It was only symbolic, yes. And I know that even India have our own problem, so many minorities. I mean, even discrimination in India, it's about some other minorities. And yes, and for us interested, just to make clear here for everybody, so that we have some history about India. But we are European, so I don't know, we transform for 700 years, 1,000 years. We are European people, and we have other agenda. Most of us very well integrate in the society, but we have other problems, that discrimination, racism. They don't let Roma people to evolve, to transform, to be better. Because what we learn in Europe is that the European people must integrate how to live with some group or one nation like Roma. Yes, because we always say Roma must integrate in the society. But how long? Because we are here for 1,000 years. So when we're going to stop to integrate? We live for 1,000 years. So I think the point is how to learn somebody else to integrate, to have neighbor Roma, or to marry one Roma, or to be part in family with some Roma when he's a Gajo. So we must do a lot. And maybe the history of, India can make some, I don't know, sensibility in the Europe, to bring some history, or, some kind of way of thinking. I think the white European need the authority, yes?
Mohammed, I think you have also an answer for that, isn't it? Or you have an input about this?
Yes, I saw you just want to jump, but I really try to explain a little bit so we can understand the topic.
So, my name's Rajan. I'm from the Global Indian series. Just as a admission, so you know, we do not represent India. We represent Indians right the way across the globe. But there's more before I go into that. We live in a world that is divided. That is true. We place a great reliance on the integrity of leaders to do what is right for us, which is true. And we have been failed time and time again by that leadership, regardless of what country it may be. When I went to the memorial across the road, and you see the names that are there, you realize that these are not just arbitrary names. These are families and generations. And a conversation that takes place, people who can get inspired by absurdity will commit atrocities. And that is a symptom of a lack of belonging. What the Global Indian series does is to say, you do not need India, despite my honorable friend here. What we do need is each other. We need to have a sense of familiarity of what the true problems are, not as ethnicities, not as colors or anything else that we happen to be born into, but the human journey of us as people. What we aim to do with the Global Indian series is to have inspired conversations, to bring people together without fear or favor, to say, what if? We have our ambassadors who enable us to do this, from former heads of states through to members of royal families. And in fact, to extend that further, I'm very grateful to Grattan, who, because of his hard work, persistence, and persistence, managed to make sure that we're all here. We're very proud to have an ambassador for Romani affairs. What I aim to do is not to sabotage or to take ownership of your identity, because a Romani identity is a Romani identity. No country on this planet should take above that. I think it is very ivory tower-like to come in here and say, well, you're brown, you're a person of Indian origin, you're one of us now. I think we've gone further than that. We know the movements of people will always continue to change. If we call ourselves Indians today, who knows what happens the next 2,000 years? Or who knows what happens to Britain? Hey, we may become English one day. But, hold your horses, hold your horses. But the aim of our MOU is to have an extension of friendship, to say together we shall ensure that the conversation of the Romani community is felt across the world. The communities that live in Fiji, through to the communities that live in South Africa, through to those in Trinidad and Tobago, have all shared a very disdained, similar history, unfortunately. Together, if we learn from each other, we can stand up together towards this. My aim is simple, to make sure that people like me, or our future ambassador here, Virgil, who I shall invite because he is now going to be an ambassador for the Global Indian here, to make sure that we no longer have to exist. I think the times have gone from ego, despite sitting in a seat and having your attention for the next 20 minutes, that's a joke, but the time for ego has disappeared. The reality is this, if you remember anything in which I say, if you look at your thumb, the cell on your thumb is the same as the cell in your kidney, but it doesn't see each other. As human beings on the back of this magnificent planet, we need each other. Now is not the time to argue for tribalism. Now is not the time to argue over religion. Now we are entering into the world of class warfare. There's those who have and those who not have. And your religion or your tribal affiliation will not make you immune from being an arsehole. That is the reality of it. So in short, as human beings, as brethren, sitting here on this stadium together, you have my commitment from the Global Indian Series, from our 27 ambassadors around the world, that we shall uptake our civic duty to make sure that the conversation of the Romani community is not polluted by identity warfare that we see persuading the globe to do stupid things, but we shall take up that opportunity to educate the planet on saying, here lies a human rights abuse, and here lies the opportunity to create a better civilization for all sentient beings. That is my Jerry Springer moment right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nasran. Esad, your input to this discussion, to this.
Kann ich auf Deutsch reden? Wird mir
We have been thinking for a long time. No. So I'll start with this. Keenan and I, and a few of us here, are part of the last generation that came from Kosovo and experienced all of this change of system. Yeah, people who were with the pioneers in the socialist era, and we came here to Germany hoping for a better life for us, for our children. But one thing happened, which we all know, and we thought, because for thousands of years people have been telling us, you come from India, you come from Syria, you come from Turkey, you come from whoever knows, you know, God knows what, different planet, different university, I don't know. We've heard all kinds of stuff about where we come from. But the point is this. We have our friends from India here today. who are here at this Congress, and we want to try and do a big research looking at all of the Balkans, not just former Yugoslavia, but also Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, all of the Roma there. Do a research about who comes from where and find the real facts, so that all of this stuff will come to an end, all of this speculation. And I think I'm not the only one who would like to know where is our starting point. And a lot of us are interested in just knowing where are our roots, so that we can say, I am this and nothing else. I am a human being and I come from this planet. And this research is already being planned. We've been planning it for several years, and I hope we got a lot of support with it. And we will try, together with our friends, to be able to say, okay, for example, you come from Serbia, there are different religions among us, there are different opinions, and we would really love to know, for someday. We simply don't want to know, from where do we come? It's very simple. Knowledge is power.
Roma Congress, this is the first one, and it will go, I think, for years and years. Yeah, thank you. We will have now dinner. Yeah, bitte.
Okay, before
we take dinner, we would like to complete our ritual. So the idea is that we will sign a memorandum with our two colleagues here from India about our cooperation. And it's also about organizing this research from India to Europe about Roma history, about the Roma people, about India, doing research in India, and on the other hand, also supporting each other. So I just wanted to mention that. That we know that we've had good contact with India for several years, but we have to be honest and say, for a long time there hasn't been a lot of support. We had a war in Kosovo in 1999, and India could have stood up then and say, hey, what's going on? 150,000 Roma are being displaced. But on a political level, that didn't happen. But it's never too late, and we want to start now. And if we have a country like India, which gives us support and solidarity for our community in Europe, the Roma nation. So it's not, 12 or 15 million people, what we've been saying for 30 years. We're talking about 20, 30 million Roma in Europe. So we would be happy to sign this memorandum here today, and you're all witnesses to it, that we will decide to do this together with our partners. But I'm sure you'd like to respond to that.
As Kenan said, and as Rajan also said, that we are not the representative of India, but the representative of Indians. So the main purpose here for this memorandum of understanding is to collaborate on carrying out research on different aspects of Roma community, like the cultural similarities, the historical and migratory routes, and the social and anthropological studies. So we can collaborate together to carry out or to facilitate such kind of research, and our center can extend help and some if the World Roma Congress or the partners, they want to send any representative to carry out research on a different aspects of Roma communities, like in course of language, the Romani language, or the cultural similarities. So we are there to help. That's the first. And a second, the most important is we can encourage the exchange of scholars, exchange of writers. We can exchange the scholars. The scholars of Roma community can visit India, and they can have, means the exposure, they want to research, or they want to hold some discussions and deliberations on certain aspects. We are there to help. And the third is that we try to expand the people-to-people engagement, There's an academic engagement, a scholarly engagement, the cultural engagement. So here our center, the Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations, can play and assume the leading role to provide such kind of facilities that how we can we can initiate the people-to-people engagement, how they can come, because as something started, taking place, because whatever in the past happened, the mistake of past can never be corrected by mistake in present. And whatever happened, I agree, and I humbly, I am humbled by their, the polite gestures. So whatever, there was a hiatus of the 20 and 30 years, but right now something may happen, and as we believe, and we are, the very positive and optimist. So, and the third is we can also organize the conference and the cultural festivals jointly, and or individually. It depends. It depends on the organizations. So whether they want to organize or host any kind of conference or cultural festivals, we can join, we can collaborate, we can join together, and we can make it happen. So these are some important things, we can also have some collaboration. We can have collaborations on the business and entrepreneurships, because there we have our wing, that is the Chamber of Commerce, People of Indian Origin. Through that, we can create the conducive environment so that we can, the Roma SMEs, like they are the craftsmen and artisans from Bulgaria and Hungary, they are they are expert craftsmen, and the musicians. So there is a possibility where we can, we can create the environment, the conducive environment, where the Roma arts can be sold and or produced or purchased or bought. So in that, through the Chamber of Commerce, the People of Indian Origin, we can help. We can have some small exporting and importing, whatever, so if it is possible, they want to do. Even though that's very difficult, because still the people, the Roma people in Europe, around 60%, they don't have a bank account. However, the organizations, as organizations, we can do some kind of business. And here we can also help.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. So
thank you very much.
I think this is the sign also to make a signature there on this memorandum.
If I may, I'd like to invite Virgil over. He'll be our ambassador for Romani Affairs. So he'll be dealing with anything to do with the Romani community. He's also going to be accompanied by all of our support systems in the UK, including members from the House of Lords. So if I may take your permission, can I invite him up so he can countersign on behalf of the Global Indian Series as well?
Please come.
If you ever need proof, if you ever need proof that the Romani and the Indian community are similar, just have a look at how long we talk whilst we're on the microphone. I think there you have clear evidence that we are the same people. Let me pass the microphone over. Would you like to sign first? We'll keep a copy for everybody to see this. Now, I hereby sign, as the Global Indian Series founder, accompanied by my ambassador for Romani Affairs, Virgil, this memorandum of understanding. I'm not going to go into detail because you can have a read of it yourself. I shall leave you to that. I shall sign, and then Kenan will sign as well from that side. It will be countersigned by my left honourable gentleman. What I would request is, because he is our ambassador for Romani Affairs, if there are any questions or anything that you'd like us to look into, please do utilise them, because that is his job to do that. I would also request if he can do just a quick 30-second note so that we can introduce himself and tell you more about what his role is. I shall commence the signing ceremony. In my neatest handwriting. You can sign as well.
Trommelwirbel.
I shall bring it over to you. So you just put your bank account details there.
What a moment.
We'll make something that you happy.
Thank you all. Yeah. But one more signature here with Mohammed. Der Avensasté, you was witness here with this big deal with India. We will have now a break. You have the opportunity to go to dinner now, and we will meet at 7 again here. Visions of Roma for Europe. There is a panel discussion with Sabina Salimovska, Ramona Maria Cara, Vicente Rodriguez Fernandez and Cayetane Fernandez. So see you at 7 here. Thank you.
Ali mora ceva oameni să nu.
Amar ce durum von makapile? Ah, ite.
Aj, nekli.
Down, please. Ich glaube, es hat keiner. Aber kann man die nicht von unten rufen? Oder oben müsste jemand gehen? Hello? Nein. Nee, schon einmal.
Nee.
Ja.
Romalen, schon einmal. Alle bleiben. Jo. Scheite avanza can se o doito panelli. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please enjoy the second panel? We will start in 2, 3, 1. Now.
Huh? Huh?
Geen probleem, je wat?
Nije rinse.
Ja, hè?
Avrijačen.
Je zat gewoon in het chillen.
Ja. A konik ti vuče čera vitim kaffe.
Had je dat kunnen zeggen?
Romalen, ajdemo lima tu menje i rin tu men, ka kana o duito panel za džive ka počnil, već zala ka snisa džive, i ga kala avrika in klilej, čiden len mo lima tu menje te den Andre.
Kindly ask all of you to go back into the meeting hall and proceed with the next session.
Sabina. Dik neka će išao. Da li vorstellen, ich habe noch eine Professor Sabina Salimovska, to education specialist und working at RAA Berlin, focusing on children's rights, anti-discrimination, bla bla bla. I onda kad počastvu sve izvije se Institut za Europa, kad je Intana Cest. Prvo lihinju? Ma nikada se vesosim. Nimam ga. Okay. Pa kas? Okay. Mēs redzam prvo odmatu, pa kas sam turom? Tu bist die einzige Frau, weißt du?
I Ramona.
Nije Ramona, nije. Nikada. Pindate na kravu.
A su se?
Pa kas se sa... sind nur 6 Sastanke. Und? Was war die letzten?
Nein, muss ich, das machen, weil ich eine Frau bin. Wo sind die Frauen? Warum sind nur Männer? Nema kaketa ti kao, to celo konda su Kjer Sarmangija Simonida, da li prvo ili druga, ma pošto kako ćemo druga.
Okay. We have our first guest here, Sabina Salimovska. Vicente Rodriguez Fernandez, is he here? Yes. You could come also please to the panel. Cajetano Fernandez, I hope was it right? Yeah, good. Orhan Tahir again, please. Come to the panel. Atanas Zakhariev. And Kenan Emini. I think he will join a bit later. I would like to introduce the only woman that we have here on the panel, Sabina Salimovska. She is an education specialist working at RAA Berlin, focusing on children's rights and anti-discrimination and education for Roma children. She's dedicated to promoting children's rights and fighting against discrimination in schools and other educational institutions, with a specialist emphasis on supporting Roma children. Sabina has been teaching at universities in Berlin and Potsdam and has gained extensive professional experience in Europe, the USA, the Middle East and Asia. She has been committed to intercultural education, diversity, multilingualism and human rights since 2000. Sabina, wow, what a CV you have. Which visions of Roma for Europe do you have?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much for the introductions, dear Simonida. Wow, I have big vision for our Roma children in Europe and everywhere actually in the world. When I think of vision, I can dream a bit, and I would like to not read anymore the sentences, the very famous sentences of describing Roma people generally and as nation that lives in the margins of the society, they have poor social conditions, living conditions, and so on and so forth. They are socially excluded, not enough present education, and so on and so forth. I would like to change that statement where I read it everywhere in all documents to change it towards a nice statement or argument, I would say, which would sound like Roma are included in the society, are enjoying their rights, they have equal rights, and they are part of our societies as everybody else. So especially when I think about the children at schools, the situation is, it's not like that. That's why I said I can dream more about my vision, what I would like to be. The situations of Roma children in the schools, especially, I can say from my experience working in Germany, in Berlin, it's completely different. Many children do have bad experiences at schools. Many children do not have access at all to the schools. Somebody might think, wow, this is nice, they're in Germany, they have actually access to education, and there are many children in school, but I always say, for me, the right to education of a child is not fulfilled by that when a child is sitting in a classroom only. It has to feel comfortable in the environment where it is in order to be able to learn and develop itself, in order to develop its talents, to develop its opportunities, and to be taken in account, their wishes and ideas, to be taken especially in account, to be led to participate and to create their education as well. This is only a wish, or only my wish, I would say. Very often we face the problem, especially of migrant children and Roma children who are seeking asylum in Germany, that especially in the last years, the problem with not having school places for the children, especially for Roma children from Moldavia. There are children sitting from 6 months to 1 year in the refugee camps, and they don't get school places, where in the same time some others do. So I cannot see that anything differently than discrimination or racism, I would say. There is a saying that in more than 3 months, children from Moldavia would be deported back to their country. Actually, what is happening and has happened actually even during the COVID-19, many Roma families were expelled and deported, so which is giving also the idea there is no need to give an access to education, to provide a place in the schools for the children who are not going to be here anyhow. So the right to education is definitely violated. In other case, it is also violated a lot of children's rights. When it comes to the children's right to housing, the children's right to health. So there are many children's rights in a circle, let's say, connected, that it can be broken, that chain can be broken anyway to promote this equality for Roma children as everybody else. We usually say, yeah, or I usually at work, I face also the situation where I'm usually questioned, why Roma children? Why especially all this for Roma children? Why they should be treated specially differently than others? We have here equal treatment for everybody. When I say if everybody would be treated equally, then we wouldn't have to fight for equality of Roma people and Roma children at school.
Yeah. There is a lot to do, I think, in this field and with this topic, education and children. My next guest, Vicente Rodriguez Fernandez, is a Cali human rights activist, educator, community organizer, writer, artist, and pop culture expert. He is the co-director of the Legacies of Empires program at the University of Washington and has been involved in organizing the Dik Inabistar initiative since 2010. He has co-founded several initiatives to improve Sinti and Roma narratives in mainstream media and founded Roma Pop, an international organization lobbying for Sinti and Roma narrative rights in pop culture and comics. He has built strategic alliances with African American, Jewish, and Armenian youth in recent years. His work gained attention from the US comic book industry during the 2016 New York Comic Con. Wow, what a CV. Vicente, which visions of Roma for Europe do you have in your mind? I mean, you did a lot in the artistic way.
Hello, everybody. Okay, let's separate the question. Let's divide the question in two parts. I think talking about visions of Romani future, there is two questions here. I think one is, what is our vision, which means what we want to achieve, what are our goals, what is our vision, you know? And the other question is, what is their vision of the future, which is what we expect to happen. In my case, and I think it's the case of a lot of people in this panel and probably over there, what we are seeing happening, or what we expect to happen, is very different of what we want to happen. So I think I will talk first about what I expect to happen. I think in the future of Roma in Europe, there is many interesting things that are going to happen that are going to become a change of paradigm. For example, something I was talking before with NASCO is the demographical change affecting the system of beliefs of Romani people. That's a very interesting topic. A few years ago, most Romani people in Western Europe were Catholic. Roma in Eastern Europe were Muslim or Orthodox. In the last 60, 70 years, the advent of the evangelical or Pentecostal church, incredibly popular among Romani people, sometimes led by Romani people, has supposed a very powerful movement, counting in Spain right now, according to some statistics, with 80% of the Romani population. This has powerful effects in the composition of not just the Roma community, but also a Romani movement as a whole. So this is a very interesting topic to discuss. Then you have the phenomenon of Eastern European Roma, who also are converting in mass to different forms of Christianity. Again, particularly Pentecostalism is very strong. And as they migrate and move to the West, they are re-Christianizing the West. It is a very interesting thing. I mean, then you have, these are just, I'm just shooting and brainstorming different thoughts that I have. Then you have the fact that the European far right is growing out of control. Fascism, different forms of Nazism are an incredible threat. At the same time, there is a lifelong association between conservative positions in the far right and traditional Christianity. What an incredible paradox. Roma are some of the most Christian people in Europe, yet they are targeted by a supposedly Christian far right. So, these are very interesting developments. What will happen in 20, in 30 years? Again, when we look at the history of the Romani movement, a huge part of the Romani movement started in communist Yugoslavia, in communist Eastern Europe. This affected the ways we understood leadership and what were the priorities that were in line many times with the policy of the different parties that were ruling in different countries in the old Soviet Union. What's going to happen with the Romani movement in 20, 30 years when Christianity in the West becomes such an official part of public Romani life and not just personal? This is interesting. Right now, for example, what I see is that this demographic change is affecting the division and connection between Romani communities and Romani activists. Romani activists experiment different degrees of disconnection from the community, sometimes through the educational process. But right now, it's not just a matter of educational process, it is a matter that it seems to me that our communities are going in very different directions than our elites. In the Balkans too, Romani people are known for being syncretic. Some Romani communities were able to celebrate both Ramadan and Christmas. People will go to the house of their neighborhoods and they will celebrate different religions. There was an incredible decrease of syncretism and coexistence. Also, in the last 30, 40 years, Romani have become stronger Muslims everywhere. So it seems our Muslim Roma have become stronger Muslims and our Christian Roma have become stronger Christians. And if this shows anything in part, it is the failure of the Romani movement to include a wider spectrum of Romani voices. So what does desperate people do? Desperate people pray. Desperate people pray, wherever is Allah, wherever is to Jesus. So I think these are interesting aspects of the development of the Romani movement and things that we're going to see in the future. So this is one thing. Then there is a lot of things that we need to discuss. We need to discuss demographics. Romani people are the younger people in Europe. We're talking about the majority of Romani people in Europe are under 25-year-old age. Demographic pyramids in different countries are changing radically. What's going to be our future with these young people? This is a Roma emergency, it's an international emergency, it's a European emergency, but it's also an incredible opportunity. Again, we are the younger people in Europe. In a sense, the future is ours, but we are not capitalizing so far, meaning we Romani people, but also we, the Romani movement, we are not capitalizing so far at all in the potential of our young people, despite his vastness. Another thing, for example, that's happening in the future. I mean, everybody is talking about AI, artificial intelligence. Everybody is talking about robotization. Everybody is talking about nanotechnology. And we are talking about bringing children to school. Something that I hope happens in the future is that we switch our attention to solving mistakes of the 18th century, and we are, for the first time, riding the current wave of development. One of the biggest problems that happened in the history of Romani people is that we failed to adapt to the Industrial Revolution. Traditional Romani jobs, craftsmanship, selling and buying horses, making baskets, participating in small-scale businesses, radically changed at the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. For us, it was a very hard thing. Many Romani communities have still not adapted to the Industrial Revolution, especially when you go to the countryside in certain countries. So a question for me and for our future is, are we gonna be able to adapt and change the narrative? Something I would love is a Roma conference on nanotechnology. I would love to have a Roma conference of artificial intelligence. I would love to have a Roma conference about, demographic changes, climate change, whatever thing, and even move forward these speeches, these trends, ride the wave, to be able to participate. I think we have, in general, an incredibly poor ambition, like, is everything we are asking to be able to be as miserable as everybody else? We are asking for boring jobs. We are asking for mediocre lives. We are asking for the bare minimum in our existence. What a poor speech. What a poor speech. It's not about to be better. It's about to see our potential and to ride the wave of human progress, because I think there is so many incredible things that we can do. Something in the negative side that's happening, yes, a vision for the future is very probably the war in Ukraine is going to spill over in Eastern Europe. We are seeing that Germany and France are de-aligning with the United States because they are afraid of the war. We are seeing that Hungary, Poland, Romania are aligning now with the United States because they're ready to fight Russia. It could happen at any moment that we are having a land conflict in Europe in the area where there is more Romani people present. Are we prepared for that? Are we ready for evacuation? Are we ready for fighting? Are we ready for creating an underground network of people that can provide housing in a safe space? We are not. So many things are happening right now. Not to talk, for example, about, again, when people talk about climate change, green energy, all this stuff, it seems this has nothing to do with us, but it has an incredible impact in our life. Actually, there is something that is called, green justice, and Roma are incredible victims of environmental oppression and injustice. We live this on everyday life, has a huge impact. What is going to happen? Last year we had about 100 million refugees in the world, if I'm not mistaken. The projections for this year are even bigger. As climate change affects Central Africa, millions of people are coming to Europe. What is going to happen with us with this incredible instability? We gotta be prepared, we gotta be on the top, we gotta be advanced, sophisticated, and dynamic. Again, being a Roma does not mean to talk about flamenco every day, to talk about sardas every day, to talk about education, health, or employment every day. A few years ago I was talking about comics, about pop culture, about the importance of globalized culture, I think this could have a huge potential impact for our people. But there is so many things that we need to do better. It's always extraordinary to me, extraordinary that we are some of the most imaginative and creative people in the world, and yet some of our congresses and events are some of the most boring places you can go. How this can happen? I will seriously try to teach people, to teach our brain, our imagination, to be able to be actively creating, participating, and using the power of our traditional approach to life, that is a celebration of life in our work as activists. Okay, these are some visions, these are some thoughts, and what I'm the most interested, apart from listening to my wonderful companions, is to open a bit the debate. What are our visions? What are our hopes? What we want, and what can we change? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicente. Thank you very much. Caetano Fernandez. He's a co-founder and activist of the anti-racist collective Kaleamenge, which focuses on the self-organization of the Roma people as a political subject and producing political theoretical tools for collective Roma emancipation. He is currently conducting research at the Center for Social Studies at the University of Coimbra, analyzing the epistemological reproduction of anti-Roma racism in Romanist studies. Fernandez co-edited State Racism, a collective overview from the perspective of autonomy and racial justice, and published articles like Anti-Roma Racism and the White Academic Agenda, Task, Disputes and Challenges of Roma Political Anti-Racism and Anti-Roma Racism, Social Work and the White Civilizing Mission in Various Contexts and Languages. Cayetano, I mean, this is the big question. I mean, it's for all of us. What is the vision of Roma for Europe? It's a big question.
It's the
but
question.
You will get all this question because, I mean, we are working all of this, on this.
Okay, from my view, I don't know, there is a lot of depending in this to solve this question. No? The first thing I think we need to address is going to depend if the Roma movement is able to overcome the deep political crisis that is right now involved, and if it's able to, and if we are able to overcome the white political domination in which we are. No? This is the fair question I believe we need to address. No? Of course, there is many things. We just listening to Vicente, no? And other brother and sister in this Congress bringing ideas that I can agree with the most of them. But just to be brief, I want to speak here. I'm not going to speak about demand to the state or to government or to parliament or this kind of thing. To be honest with you, at the state of the Roma struggle right now, I don't expect much for government, state, European Union, or whatever other institution. But I would like to use this time that I am having the floor to address some thought to you, to my brother and sister here in this Congress. And I'm going to focus only on two things: coherency and political autonomy. But in order to make clear what do I mean by this coherency and political autonomy, I think that we need to make some clarification of how we understand the struggle. Because nowadays, it seems like everyone is speaking about the same thing when we are speaking about anti-racist struggle, confronting anti-Gypsyism or anti-Roma racism, but then the political translation is not the same. So I want to clarify how I see this struggle. The first thing, for me, this struggle is not about to make an appendix, like a Roma appendix, to any political party, no matter lefty or right or whatever other thing. My struggle is not to make cosmetic changes in the sense I'm not aiming to put one Roma face here in this institution, other Roma face there, just to make some cosmetic because it looks nice, but then it doesn't bring radical changes and structural changes. And of course, in my view, the struggle is not about to build a kind of morally project where we are trying to convince Gage that we are not this that they thought that we were. No, because there is a lot on this. We can find a lot on this idea of the rehumanizing. No, no, you need to take into consideration the contribution that Roman history, blah blah blah. No, and then what we end up with dealing with project for Gage, like, hey, can't to know the Roman history? Like in 600 years, they didn't have time to know us. And it's not true at the end, you know. It's like I believe that police, for example, know very well Roma people or courtyard, this kind of thing, no? So in this thing, I think the first thing we need to do is to allocate, to be clear what we are confronting here. And what we are confronting here is a structural system of domination built and alive for more than 500 years. So this is not about changing some grown idea in Gage's people's mind. It's an entire system that we need to confront. And of course, with such a huge demon in front of us, there is no magical receipt. There is not going to be just like simple thing to address, but I think we need to understand a few questions in order to be clear what we are confronting. And the first thing I think we need to understand is that anti-Gypsyism or anti-Roma racism, as you prefer, is not an accident in European history. It's not a casualty. Anti-Roma racism is in the very DNA of the European project, in the modern European project. European modernity is based in a racial order, in a racial idea to sustain and maintain Gage supremacy. So we need to understand this, because this should have an impact in how we organize ourselves, what kind of allies we want to build. Because maybe we need to stop looking up to parliament and all this kind of thing, and we need to look more around to other racialized people that are in the same struggle we were. Because at the end, this European project, at the same time that they were colonizing other land and trying to civilize them, they need the inner enemy. Our role in the European history is to become this inner enemy. This idea, no, I was speaking this morning also with some of our brother and sister in the Warsaw, no, when I was saying, like, for me the difference between the Gypsy and the Roma is the Gypsy is just a fiction, it's a white creation, not only a word, it's only seen in white people's mind, in the Gage mind. But this fictional creation have a deep political impact. I mean, they have been educating their children during centuries based on this idea. They need like to create this idea of the Gypsy to educate the children. They say, you see these savages? This is what you never should become. And this is nowadays we have a translation of this, and it's what we call integration. What is integration? What have been all this political framework or this public policy based on integration? The only impact this has is what we define as a civilizatory vision. It's the same idea. So most of these political public policy and projects, they are not aimed to solve our problem as a Roma or our families. It's more connected with how they create this idea that they are superior, they are the civilized one, and they want to civilize it. No? Of course, this creates all this problem that also Vicente was speaking now about the distance between community and the movement. Because, of course, when they are fundraising for this project, they come with the agenda. And our people in the ghetto, in the Mahala, they cannot relate with that. When they come with real problems, they say, no, I have a project, but my project cannot help you. Because my project is more about civilizing you, about teach you to take your children on time in the school, you know, on this kind of question. And this have one more tricky impact, if you want. It's create this idea that, in my view, is a trap, and I believe that many brothers and sisters are following this trap, that collaborating with the system is going to help us. So they create this kind of theater where, okay, they speak to us about political participation, so let's put one Roma here, let's put other Roma there, and this, they believe, is going to make any change. But I don't think that we need to make a deep research to realize that the problem here is not that the system is failing. The real problem here is that the system is working perfectly, because the system is designed in order to maintain Gage supremacy and to control politically our voices. So this has other consequences. It's the creation of an artificial political subject that speaks in our name but has nothing to do with us, that don't bring our agenda. They don't bring our demand. So at the end, what they are is, by collaborating with the enemy, they are reinforcing them. Because let me ask you something here, brother and sister. Do you know any case of oppressed nation that have get liberated by sitting in the same table with the oppressor and discussing with them. So we need to address all this question, because this idea of is integration, you know, I mean, I speak sometimes about integrationism, that is more than integration, because there are people now that they don't say integration, now they say inclusion or multiculturality or whatever other euphemism, or don't mention at all, but integrationism have a huge impact in our people, because the impact of integrationism is to put this idea that we need white people to be safe, that we are not enough working alone. No? I know, for example, I don't know you remember, I'm sure you remember, because during last year, thanks to the anti-racist Roma movement, the death of Roma people like Stanislav Toma in Czech Republic, or Daniel Jimenez, or many other brothers that have died because of police brutality, always in this kind of cases, I hear one Roma that say, what we need here is more Roma in the police. Such a stupid idea. I mean, this for me is the final triumph of anti-Gypsyism, of integrationism, is when I hear this kind of thing. So we have an institution that is erasing our people, killing our people, and still to call for the abolition of this institution. You wish to be part there? Of course, we need to address all this question, because it's matter a lot in what kind of political project we want to be involved. And also we need to question some of this narrative. Even in this Congress we have fear, and we are all used to hear about white gadget politicians that come to speak to us about democracy, about human rights, about rule of law, about all these questions. But then we all know here, or if we all know, I think a good portion of brothers and sisters here, we are very aware that when it comes to Roma, these are just empty words and goodwill, no? So here is where we need to, I believe we need to address this question of cosmetic changing. I think we are in a very critical situation right now in the movement. I believe that we have made a step forward in the sense that 10 years ago, most of the Roma organizations, they don't even speak about racism. The discourse, the only narrative was integration. Now we have the question of racism in the table. We have the question of resistance to build a proud generation of our people. But then this question also comes with the necessity to be coherent. Because the big brother, the big system, is always waiting for you to co-opt. And then we end up with people, the same people that were working about integration, that now present projects about resistance and get funded because of this. So I think what we need to claim here is, if you claim resistance, please resist. Because if not, we are making the enemy stronger, no? So just to summarize, to finish soon, because I'm speaking too much, no? And I was saying, we need to react against all this question. We are we have the right also to be angry. We were discussing also about this question, and to react when can this committed discourse about human rights, democracy, when we know that from tomorrow, when finish this Congress and we go back to our house, what we are going to find in the ghetto, in the Mahala, is the same thing always. It's harassment, it's police brutality, it's massive incarceration, it's school segregation, no? So let's learn the history. Let's learn from this history of our movement. We're discussing a lot in this Congress about that, and let's don't make the same mistake. Maybe let's create a new mistake. And maybe from this we can move, but we are in a very crucial situation, because what we are facing right now in Europe is a slow genocide. It's a slow genocide decorated with fancy words, with the question of human rights and all this question that I was saying. No? So in this context, I believe the only way for us is to build this what we define political autonomy. Of course, political autonomy is a very complex issue. The same that resistance is a very complex issue, and can come for very simple understanding, like we were saying. Autonomy, what does it mean autonomy at the very simple level? Not to be dependent. Break with the dependency of the, to the white world. To a more elaborated and complex understanding that we will see where we can be. But at the beginning, the first thing, I think all this idea of autonomy starts in how we believe in ourselves, how we think about ourselves. If we are constantly thinking as a victim and as dependent people, we cannot break with this. We need, because this decade of integrationism have put this idea that I say that we are not good enough to work alone, that we need the Gadget people. We need to break with this poison ideologies in order to create an emancipatory path. No? And then there is one thing that I love about this question of autonomy is like, autonomy is something that you exercise. You don't need to have permission for nobody to exercise autonomy. It's how we create our political path. It's the same that happened with emancipation. That's why I love the word emancipation, because emancipation doesn't accept any passive form. Or you emancipate yourself, or nobody is going to emancipate you. Or the Roma nation emancipates itself, or nobody is going to come to emancipate that. But for that, in order to achieve this situation, I think we need somehow, and understand me, because I'm not going to say this in a bad sense, but we need to stop paying respect to the white world, to believing that the only way to work is with the white institution, that they want to be part of this state and form of rule and government and create our own. No? And of course, this requires a high degree, I believe, what I was saying before, of political coherence, because, and I finish with that, let me be very clear, because we cannot be naive of the situation that has Roma movement we are right now. There are a lot of people that fall in love with all this white world and institution, but I want to be very clear about this question. When there is a situation of oppressor and oppressed, and let's also understand that when we are speaking about anti-Roma racism, and they say it's a structural issue, and some people believe that, well, it's structural, so nobody is responsible. No, structural means that the main face of the anti-Roma racism is the state, is the institution, so they are responsible. So, what I was saying, in this situation of oppressor and oppressed, you cannot be loyal to both sides. There is no space in between. Because this discourse is very common. No, I'm working for you, but I'm working also with the oppressor. We need to be, and I finish here, no, with with the idea that we need to demand also accountability. I think it's come the time to demand for accountability of the impact, the political impact of the Roma movement.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Thank you,
I speak too much.
Fernandez. Yeah, maybe just let it a bit shorter to have after that a little debate, so we could discuss also about some things. Atanas Zakhariev is a Roma activist from England. I don't have your CV. Maybe you introduce yourself, what you're doing.
So, hello everybody. I am Atanas Zakhariev. I've been working in the human rights field for years, also as a project manager. Now in UK, I'm also working on project management on issues related to education and building global networks for an organization called In Hive Global. So what you don't know about me, this is something that is more common about my biography, is that I also did trading and investing. I'm interested in general in the IT. I'm also a cybersecurity specialist. Working on my own to understand how the global economy looks. And that's another layer that I want to add.
In the finance part?
Yes, I'm interested in the finance part. I've been interested and fascinated how the real world works. And as we know, everything that evolves, politics evolves around economy, evolves about money. And what I would be interested to speak about is about that. And how do we fit like my colleagues already really painted very well what is happening. I'm just going to add 1 or 2 layers to see how do we play there. In my opinion, I share the opinion of many people here, things look doom and gloom, really doom and gloom. And economically, we see basically since COVID, what has happened, what is the impact on the global economy. We are currently in a recession as deep as it was in the 1920s, 1930s. In this regard, we also need to talk about the global reset, digitalization of the economy in general, the digital dollar that is not being backed up. As we know that the dollar itself is the global currency, as we know. This is the way we trade on international economies, except now there is another trend that is actually the Russian ruble being used among few countries. But what I want to see beyond that is how do we fit in there? We talk about also blockchains. This is the future. We talk about IT, nanotechnology. We talk about artificial intelligence. We talk about society that is being strictly surveyed. We're more and more into that sphere. We can, thinking about the Roma in this case. Sorry?
As a question, metaverse as well?
Metaverse, absolutely. This is what I did, like myself. I create currencies. I am part of that digital society in itself. And it functions differently. Everything is trackable. Everything there is nothing that you cannot be seen there. There is literally nothing. And this is where we are gonna be. Just position yourself when we talk about discrimination, war, global economic trends, and morality. This is something else we'll talk about as well.
But what would be your vision for this when you are talking about metaverse, about all these finance things, about,
My vision starts from there. I needed to layer a little bit before I actually speak about my vision. What I see happening globally is mass destruction of the system as it is, and recreation of a new system that is based on digital economy, when people will be absolutely surveyed and dependent on the state, and that the state that controls you more and more. Now we are living more in a plugged-in society. We, as Roma, also participate, maybe on the margin, but we're being seen. All our transactions, all our actions are being seen. Even more when blockchain technology and digitalization come into our future, our near future, that there will be massive loss of jobs that will be replaced by artificial intelligence. Jobs that traditionally marginalized community do, they will be absolutely replaced, I assume. And the idea is where we stand. The idea is basically, yes, we have something to offer, and this is our morality, what we believe in, comparing to the state of the general population in Europe, for example, we have waves of people looking for spiritual hope, going away from depression. We see basically across countries, we have this global depression in people, which affects your actions. Your everyday way of living is being controlled even more. A person that has no hope, that has no moral hopes, and loses everything. And it's easier to control. So that's what I wanted to add, basically. If trends such as people looking more for faith in everyday actions, they actually can resist certain trends. In addition, what we should be actually looking into is taking advantage of the society, really educating ourselves how to take advantage of this emerging society. While people are still sleeping, most of the people are sleeping, we need to wake up and to see what is possible. Of course, education is key. We need to educate yourself how to become part and how to be successful, to how to actually wave the trends of that newly established system that comes in. Otherwise, everything is doom and gloom. Thank you.
Thank you, Atanas. Orhan Tahir. He is a Romani civil rights activist from Bulgaria, living now in between Germany and Belgium. He studied law of the Sofia University St. Clement Ohridsky in Bulgaria and later politics and history at the University of Nottingham, UK. Orhan is co-founder of the Future of European Roma Initiative and several committees for the advancement of European Romani politics. The same question to you, Orhan. The vision of Europe of the Roma.
Thank you for this introduction. It was very interesting to listen to the people in the panel about the future. Your question was about our vision for the future of Europe.
Visions of Roma for
Yes.
Europe, yeah.
But I think before having future vision about Europe, we need to create vision about ourselves in Europe, about our own future in Europe. And I'm very concerned with this question over the last years. What will be our future as Roma people in Europe tomorrow? And Simonida, look at this panel. You yourself, you are from former Yugoslavia, right? From which country?
Serbia.
Serbia. You are also from former Macedonia. We have two people from Spain and we have two people from Bulgaria. What is interesting here is that all of us, we live in Western Europe. You don't have anybody in this panel who currently is living in Eastern Europe. You have people from Eastern Europe, but they are no more in Eastern Europe. About the future of Roma, the first thing that will happen in our movement, I think, due to the migration, demographic, and other processes, is the shift of the gravity, the shift of the Roma movement from east to the west. Just because hundreds of thousands of Roma moved, physically moved, from east to the west. So Roma movement itself, in the future, and this is the first thing I want to tell you, in my opinion, will be focused, will be based somewhere in the Western Europe in the next 20, 50 years, let's say. This is the first thing. The second thing, the question about education of children and young people. You were speaking about education, the need of education and the barriers for the children. Vicente mentioned that we have a very high percentage of young people. We are leading maybe in Europe by percentage, by share of young people in our population. Now the question is for me in the future is not the education of Roma or the children itself, because we already have too many educated people. The question in the next 20, 30, 50 years will be, where will these educated Roma people work? Where will these educated people go? This will be a huge question for the future, because even in these Eastern European countries, where practically in Bulgaria, in Romania, now you have schools where you have only Roma children, because there is no other children there. Towns, villages, cities where 90% of the children are Roma. There are no other children. And these children tomorrow will be at the labor market. Let's say many of them will get good education. Even now we have a lot of people with good education. But the question is what they are going to work. Because even now we have too many Roma with pedagogical, legal, other educations, other degrees, who cannot realize themselves in the market,
in the labor market, neither in Eastern Europe nor in Western Europe. We have too many people, qualified, well-educated, high-educated Roma people who work manual work. They work in factories, in farms, in restaurants. They don't work according to their profession, and we are losing them as capacities. They don't work according to they don't apply their skills. They don't use their skills, but they work together with people who doesn't have such education. Now the big question, the first thing is the shift of the population, the demographic change which will occur. And the second is the future of the young Roma, the professional realization of the educated Roma. Because in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years, we will have huge percentage of well-educated Roma. Just because during the last 30 years, it was invested a lot in the education of Roma. Now, the next very important question for me. I think that in 20, 30 years, the question of integration or inclusion of Roma will completely drop out from the political agendas, from the political programs, from the governmental programs, just because you will have far-right governments almost everywhere in Europe. Now you have Meloni in Italy. It's a question of time to have Le Pen in France. And believe me, Meloni and Le Pen will be moderate in comparison to those who will come in the future, who will be much more radical in their demands regarding migrants, regarding minorities, regarding social issues, and so on. So in the future, the very concept of integration of Roma will completely drop out. It will be abandoned. It will be left in the past. Nobody will speak about integration or inclusion of Roma. Even now, if you go to Eastern Europe, you will see in the political programs of the political parties, they now avoid including any word about integration or inclusion of Roma, because they know that their voters get angry. And they don't want to lose voters. So, what will happen, in my opinion, if we remain in the same passive position? Because we as a society, as people, we are extremely passive. We don't come up with solutions, with proposals, with ideas about our own future, how we imagine our future in Europe. There is no such debate. And I hope that this Congress could be the beginning of such public debate among Roma across Europe and also in America and in the other parts of the world. And why not in India? Because we have here also representatives of the nomadic so-called communities in India. The question, if we don't think about ourselves, if we don't think, what will happen in 20, 30 years? I will tell you. It will be the far-right politicians and governments in all these countries who will decide to remove Roma, to deport Roma somewhere, even to create some kind of artificial state for Roma where they can deport Roma maybe. Because this is something that they didn't do until now. They did everything else. Assimilation, taking the children from the families, extermination, sending us to concentration camps. Everything else was implemented. The only thing they didn't do is to create an artificial country, or I don't know, something like mega ghetto, let's say, where to send the Roma and to provide with them with some basic means, basic money, like elementary conditions to survive there and to work and to produce something like in labor camps something. And this is a possible scenario for the future of Roma. So if Roma intelligentsia want to do something about this, I think that we are the people who should in advance think preventatively, make prevention. We think about our own future and what we do, and in such case. We shouldn't, and I want to repeat this, and to tell this to all of you, we must not wait for the national governments, for the donors, for the international organizations to offer, to propose solution of our problems or to send us somewhere or to do something for us. I will give you 2 examples. United Kingdom made contract with Rwanda to send illegal immigrants to Rwanda, which is in Africa. So why not tomorrow they make contract with some country in Africa or in Asia to send them to deport Roma? Think about United Nations during the war in Kosovo and Yugoslavia, what they did. They created camps for Roma on poisoned land in Kosovska Mitrovica, where it was former lead mines, yeah? What was the solution of the United Nations? They were not far right. This was the United Nations. They sent Roma on such dangerous places. So we should not wait for, this is my recommendation, we should not wait for any solutions coming from governments or international organizations or so on, but we should prepare ourselves in order to not end up in the same situation like Yugoslav Roma end up during the civil war there or Ukrainian Roma. This is the worst possible scenario where bombs starting falling on your head and then you think, oh, where I'm going now, what I'm doing now. No, you are fucked up. If you are not prepared for this moment, you mean that you lost your time. You lost your house, you lost your relatives, you lost everything, and you go somewhere else on another continent, where you go next. So let's think about our future. Our own future. And the last thing I want to tell you, don't focus so much on what non-Roma want from us or what non-Roma think about us, but focus on ourselves, what we want. And it also related to the question of self-respect, because in some aspects, Roma people are more advanced in their thinking, in their values, than the non-Roma people in Europe today. Because the moral crisis among non-Roma people is much deeper than the moral crisis among Roma people. And this is how I want to finish. Focus on yourself and think about Roma society as a closed society, because we have been for too long open society. So open that everyone can enter, come, do whatever want with us and go. We need to replace this concept of open society with the concept of closed society. Because when you are attacked, you don't open yourself, you close yourself. You defend yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Orhan Tahir. Kenan Emini. I want just to, the last one for today is the chairman of Roma Center and founder of the Roma Anti-Discrimination Network, as well as co-founder and vice chairperson of the Bundes-Roma-Verband, the umbrella organization of migrant Roma in Germany. He organized research trips on the situation of deported Roma and most recently also on Roma refugees from Ukraine in Eastern Europe. As a filmmaker, he developed the documentary film The Awakening about the situation of young Roma who have been deported or who are threatened with deportation, as well as the shift to the right in Europe. He works and publishes in general on these topics as well as on anti-discrimination, empowerment and commemoration. Welcome us again, Kenan Emini.
Okay, thank you everybody. I just want to make short because this is the last event now, and I want to thank to everybody that participate in these last 3 days. So Simonida, maybe just if you give me this list, I want to thanks for the Hamburg group. They help us. So for Mado, Nina, Sina, Allegra, Mohammed, David, Sheikhan, thank you very much. He come from Macedonia, his leg is broke, so I want applause. And for everybody, and of course for for our friend Sean also. Sean is, he make voluntary also this translation from German to English. Thank you for everybody. Thank you. If I forget somebody, then sorry. So I will just say a couple of words and maybe we finish with this. So the idea about World Roma Congress is old. So we have this for years, but the world changing now. We hear in this debate that we speak about blockchain, about IE, about metaverse, you know, some new stuff, yeah, NFT, yeah. This is some dimension that a lot of Roma, they don't know. And this is the new world is coming or is here. But we are not prepared. And I'm very glad that you opened this kind of dimension for thinking. And also you, Simonida, about the metaverse we speak yesterday. So this is something what is very important for our young generation to know, to learn about it. So if you are in organization or NGO, whatever you do, maybe it's time for our Roma organization around the world to think a little bit deeper and this new way of thinking, because we have too much this integration program. You know, we speak for 30 years about the education of our children. But Orhan he said something beautiful. We have so many education people and academic people. I think he's also a lawyer. But can I ask you what is your work in Germany? Orhan works in the restaurant, but he's a lawyer. I mean, yeah? Yes. So, yeah. Yes. Yes, so this is the point that it's not everything about the education. It's about the possibility. Can I work? You know, if I go in Serbia or Kosovo, you know, 90% Roma, they don't work there. You know, they collect something. Nobody wants to give them a job. So this is the real problem, not the education. So, but we have some new tools now, and this is this digital world where we can also invest in our children to learn about the technology, to learn about all of this, what you speak tonight, you know, like blockchain, NFT, metaverse. All of this stuff is, you know, like other dimension for a lot of Roma. So maybe this is the focus for us to transform the new way of thinking for Roma and to bring them this kind of knowledge. So that's why this is the Congress of one reform, so of thinking, to bring a new policy for Roma, because we live in the hard days. We see the war and the crisis around the world. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years, but I know if it's some crisis, then the most who are going to be attacked are Roma, because we, like Vincente said, we are not prepared for nothing. You know, even we lived for 23 years in Germany, but most of them don't have papers. You know, not real documents. So we must take the destiny in our hands, and I want to thank for URID and Romano Equipe and all international organizations, also our sister Romani Pen from Berlin. They support and they are part of this movement and this to organize this event. And if I forget somebody, please sorry, but I will just like to say that we try to create something, and let's stay in this wave. Let's do this again. Let's try. I don't know. One sister say in the first day, organize yourself, make conference, but make this conference what is important for us. Like you guys say, it's not to do what some gajo tell us to do. You know, like no. And I hope you enjoyed these 3 days, and we will give some feedback after the while, and stay in touch with you. And thank you very much for your participation. I love you all.
Thank you. see you all next year, hopefully, to the World Roma Congress on 2024. Thank you for these 3 days here on the World Roma Congress 2023. Te avenza stay Bartale, di casa mena ver bresh. Te avenza stay.
Pakistan.